Time management is important when scheduling the bidding process. In our bidding evaluation log, a key element to know is how many workdays are remaining until the bid is due. Here's a way to use Microsoft Excel to accurately compute days remaining until a bid is due. We will start by entering a new job on the bid log. First, we enter the project name. Then we mark it as to be determined whether we will bid it or not. The estimator to bid it is marked to be determined. The number of workdays hasn't been computed yet because we don't have a due date yet. We enter the location, the contractor or contractors that we're going to be bidding for, and then a brief job description with enough information that we can get a quick understanding of what this job is about. The source that requested the bid, the request date, and finally the due date and due time. So March 15th is the due date at 1 p.m. Since the date that this was entered in the spreadsheet was February 28th, there are 10 workdays to that due date from February 28th to March 15th. The formula used to calculate the number of workdays to the due date is based on 5 key components. We'll take each component in turn. The 5 functions are the today function, the network days function, the isBlank function, an if statement, and finally named ranges. So let's start building the formula. To help us do this, we'll create a new worksheet that we can build our formula step by step. This will help us understand each of the components as they affect the final result in the formula. We will add 3 columns to our worksheet: a description of the step that we're building, a due date that we've entered to calculate our formula from, and then finally the formula and the result of that formula. I spend a few minutes and format the sheet in order to make it easier to understand and follow as we add information to it. So first we have to know what today's date is in our formula, because we have to calculate from today to the due date. This is done with the today function in Excel. Do an equal sign, just simply the word today, open parenthesis, close parenthesis, and it returns the current date of the computer system. Next, we need to determine the number of days that exist from today to our bid due date. We use the network days function in Excel to do this. Let's enter a due date of March 15th. That should be 11 days from February 28th. Enter an equal sign, network days as the function, an open parenthesis, then reference our current day, March 28th, and that we can do by using the today function we learned above, comma, and then the ending date. Close the parenthesis, and we calculate our workdays. A named range is simply a block of cells that's referred to by name in a formula instead of by cell reference. In this case, I'm going to create a block of cells called holidays. I'll put a box around it in order to make it easier to see. I'll highlight the range of cells I'd like, right-click, select Name a Range, and give it a name. In this case, I will call it Holidays. Then I'll enter the 2 holidays I'm interested in including in this particular block of cells, March 1st and March 2nd. These are days that exist between today, February 28th, and my due date, March 15th. I can now include the holidays that I've built into my net workdays formula. Net workdays, today's date, refer to the bid date as the ending date, the bid due date, and then finally enter the name holidays, which refers to my list of holidays. Notice when I calculate the number of days until the due date, it is now 2 days less, or 9 days. Next, I want to know if a due date has been entered yet. To do this, I use the isBlank function in Excel. To use the isBlank, you type an equal sign, you type the word is blank, and then you refer to the cell you would like to know if there is content or not in that cell. Notice that if it is empty, it says true. If I now go to that due date cell and enter a date, my function returns false. This tells me that something is inside of the due date cell that I'm referring to. I can now use the information of whether due date has been entered or not to put a to be determined in the number of days until the bid date is due. To do that, I use an Excel formula called an if statement. If, then my question is a due date entered with my is blank command? If it is blank, I put to be determined in my result column. If I enter something in the due date, it returns false. Now I can create my final formula by indicating if a due date has been entered, how many days there are until the bid is due. To do this, I use the other half of my if statement. When entering the if statement, start with an equal sign, enter if, open parenthesis. Now the first thing we want to know is, has a due date been entered? We use our is blank command again. If no due date is entered, we say to be determined. Otherwise, we enter the net workdays command that we learned in the above steps. We include today, the ending date or the due date, and the holidays that we set up. When I hit enter, it says to be determined because there's no due date entered at this time. When I enter a due date, it calculates the number of days that are available. I change the due date, and it changes the calculated days. I change it back to blank, and it's back to be determined. So I get very nice behavior on how many days I have available to complete the bid. So, taking these 5 steps and putting them together into one formula, we come up with a nice way to calculate the number of days we have available to get a bid out the door. This allows us to prioritize our bidding selection.